Video doorbells have been growing in popularity for the last few years, and it's easy to see why given how useful they are if you're anything like me and have tons of packages turning up on your doorstep daily. But many of them have two major problems. Number one, you have to pay a subscription fee to use the hardware you already bought, and number two, all of your recordings are stored in the cloud. Enter the Eufy 2K Wireless Video, a battery-powered video doorbell with zero subscription fees and completely local storage. But how good is it? Full transparency, as always, this unit was provided by Eufy, but no money changed hands and they do not get to see this video before it goes live. Let's first take a look at some of the specs of the Eufy 2K Wireless. The first hint is obviously in the name, 2K. It's equipped with a 2560 by 1920 image sensor with wide dynamic range. It's capable of person detection, comes with 16GB of storage via the base station, and has 6 months of battery life for $179.99. The Eufy wireless doorbell comes in two parts. You have the main doorbell unit itself that goes at the front door, and you have the base station which acts as the storage for the video recordings, as well as the doorbell chime when the doorbell button is pressed. I'm a pretty big fan of the design of the doorbell unit overall actually. I appreciate the fully blacked out stealth look, and I think this looks way better at your front door than the white ones do in general. But of course this will depend on the look of your house. The setup process is pretty straightforward. With the base station plugged into power and also Ethernet, you then simply add the base station to the Eufy security app by scanning the QR code on the back. Once you have the base station added, you can then add the doorbell by again scanning the QR code. The doorbell will then wirelessly sync with the base station, which takes a couple of seconds, and then you are good to go. Now, because I know some of you will ask, do I need to keep the base station connected to Ethernet all time? Initially, I thought that you had to have it permanently connected to the Ethernet, which would limit the placement, but after digging through the settings, I found that you can add the base station to your Wi-Fi and then unplug the Ethernet and it will continue to work perfectly well. Nice. Then it's a case of fixing the doorbell to your front door. There is a sort of base plate that you fix to the wall or frame of your door using the included hardware, and then the doorbell snaps into place. This allows you to easily remove the doorbell for whenever you need to charge the batteries by using this actually really cool tool that's like this beefed up little SIM eject tool. Eufy also includes a 15-degree wedge so that you can angle the doorbell out from the wall a little for more optimal mounting. This would have been enough for my setup, but ideally I wanted a little bit more of an angle, so a quick 3D printing of a 45-degree wedge soon fixed that. The Eufy security app is really nice to use. It's simple, fast and clean, but also has a pretty good amount of settings that you can use to suit to your environment. You can configure motion zones as well as what type of motion you want to detect, humans or all motion, and it has 5 levels of sensitivity. You can also configure the quality of the recordings and also the streaming quality, and if you go into the power manager settings, you can configure how it should record, optimized for battery life or for surveillance. The only thing missing for me from that aspect would be the ability to add multiple detection zones. At the moment you can only add a single zone, and also there is no privacy mask. That's not an issue for me particularly, but I know it would be an issue for some of you guys out there, so just something to be aware of. The way the Eufy wireless works is that you place the base station somewhere central in your house, and that wirelessly communicates with the doorbell. Not through your home Wi-Fi, but it has a direct wireless connection. And because the doorbell itself is wireless, the base station is used as the doorbell chime, since you obviously won't be wiring it to your existing chime. Anytime the doorbell button is pressed, the base station will let out an audible ring, and you'll also get a notification straight to your phone to let you know someone is there. And this notification will open the live feed to the camera where you can respond through the two-way audio. These notifications work really well, and during my testing there were no missed notifications and they came through very quickly without delay. Nothing worse than when the notification is so delayed that the person has actually been and gone before you even get it. You can also view the Doorbell 2K on your smart displays with official support for Alexa and Google Home, allowing you to bring up the live view. I don't have an Amazon smart display so I can't comment there, but in the case of the Google Home it's a little bit slower to display the live feed than I would like, although I suspect that is a Google problem rather than Eufy's. Another useful feature is the ability to add quick responses. Basically, you can record up to 3 different short messages as your presets, then whenever the doorbell goes you can choose from one of those responses and have that message played out. I could see this being really useful for accepting deliveries, for example.
Oh my, what a big package you have. I'll be right there.
Image quality is actually pretty good for one of these doorbell cameras. I expected it to be a lot worse than it was, but for its intended purpose, I was very pleasantly surprised. It has a 4:3 aspect ratio with 160-degree field of view, which is plenty good enough for identifying anyone's face during the day, and it also has IR or infrared night vision for when it gets dark. Overall, I really like the image quality from the Eufy, and I think they have done a superb job here when it comes to the image that you get. The only issue I have during the day is that when a camera event first happens, for the first second or two of the recording the clip, the camera struggles to balance the exposure of an image. When you open a recording, you'll sometimes notice that the sky is completely blown out, and it takes a couple of seconds to adjust. You know when you point your camera at something really bright and you can't see it, and then the auto exposure kicks in and it becomes visible? It was kind of like that, which is kind of strange because the camera is obviously always on, so the exposure should have already been adjusted. But then when I thought about it a bit more, it's probably something to do with the battery saving measures. But anyways, this can sometimes make the first 1 or 2 seconds of the clip unusable, but of course this will depend on your environment. These motion events come through as separate notifications than the doorbell notifications do, and these are for motion detection events, and tapping into these notifications takes you straight into the event to play back the clip rather than into the live view, which is a really nice feature that I do appreciate, and again it works really well and is really snappy to load. The notification also has an image attached if a person was detected, so that you can quickly see who it was at the door before opening it. Again, a really nice feature that I do appreciate. One other minor problem I had was around the person detection and missing of the start of events. So in my particular environment, if I walked up my path towards the camera, I was able to get really close to the doorbell before it would realize that I was a person. It's almost like when you're walking towards it, it's hard for it to detect motion. But as I start to come across the frame more rather than towards it, the motion detection would kick in. Now ideally I would adjust the seconds before a motion event is detected to combat this, but because this runs on battery, it doesn't have the option to specify how many seconds before an event you would like to record. Audio quality is pretty good too, both in terms of the audio quality when you're at the doorbell itself, but also when you answer the notification on your phone. It's easy enough to hold a conversation and hear what's being said, even from a distance.
May I come in, please? Thank you.
One of the big plus points for me is the local storage, and by extension, 0 subscription fees to pay. All of your recordings are stored on the base station and not in the cloud, which is a massive boost. With the base station you get 16 gigabytes of storage, which might not actually seem like that much, but in the menu you have the option to enable high efficiency compression, so long as you have a relatively modern smartphone, which will really help to save on storage space. For context, at the time of filming I have around 15 days of recording, and that's using 0.39 gigabytes of space, so you can see just how efficient on space it really is. I also really like the fact that if your doorbell gets stolen, that all of the recordings aren't stored on an SD card inside the camera itself, but rather they are safe on the base station inside your house. One final thing I wanted to touch on was RTSP, which this camera doesn't unfortunately support. RTSP is a streaming protocol that would essentially allow you to tap into the live feed of this camera from any other software. Now there does seem to be rumours and murmurings swirling around on the internet about Eufy potentially adding this feature. I'm not sure who started this rumour and if it was ever officially stated by Eufy themselves, but it doesn't at the moment support it, and from what I can tell and from what logic tells me in my mind, this definitely seems to be a battery life thing. I can't imagine you would get anywhere near the stated battery life if they had an RTSP stream running constantly, which I can totally understand. What would be cool though is if they gave us the option to enable this in the app somewhere and we're like, hey, if you enable this, you're only going to get like 3 weeks of battery life instead of the usual 6 months, then I think that could be a nice middle ground. For many of you, RTSP may not be a feature that you care about at all, which is great as this is a total non-issue for you, but just something worth bringing up if you were hoping to see that here. I really like the Eufy 2K wireless video. The image quality is excellent, it's fast and responsive, the app is super simple to use, and it has pretty much every feature that you would actually need. Plus the fact that it has local storage and 0 subscription fees is a real bonus, and that makes it not only one of my favourite wireless video doorbells, but one of my favourite video doorbells in general. But what do you guys think about the Eufy 2K wireless video? Please do let me know in the comments down below. As always, I'm very interested to hear your thoughts on it, so yeah, please do let me know in the comments down below. Mate, if you want to support the channel, you can do so by becoming a patron on Patreon, and your support allows me to keep on making these videos. Thank you to all my current Patreon supporters as always. Your support is very much appreciated. Make sure to drop this video a like and get subscribed, and we'll see you in the next video.